very good evening and welcome to Primetime News on TV1 for the Newsfirst, where the people come first. I'm Martin Satyanesan.
And I'm Thiruni Karunaratna. Here are headlines for tonight.
The headlines on Newsfirst.
Judicial reform bills gazetted to extend judges' retirement age. Magazine Kuruvita and Pallansena prison unrest. 3 dead, 77 injured as prison unrest hits 3 facilities. Government suspects plan resistance behind prison violence. Sajid seeks imprisoned MP in parliament as UNP raises Akila's safety concerns. Joint opposition questions whether prison unrest is meant to derail justice. Gum at the Rebuild Agricultural Infrastructure campaign begins.
On to those stories in detail. The proposed 22nd Amendment to the Constitution, which seeks to extend the retirement age of Superior Court judges by 2 years,
was officially published in a government gazette today.
What changes will be made under the 22nd Amendment? The draft 22nd Amendment to the Constitution includes provisions to extend the retirement age of judges of the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeal by 2 years. Under the proposed amendment, the retirement age of Supreme Court judges will be increased to 67 years, while the retirement age of Court of Appeal judges will be increased to 65 years. The draft legislation also includes a new provision relating to the tenure of the Chief Justice. According to the proposal, the Chief Justice will retire upon completing 6 years in office or upon reaching the age of 67 years, whichever occurs first. The 22nd Amendment also proposes increasing the number of Court of Appeal judges from 19 to 24, with the objective of strengthening judicial capacity and improving the efficiency of the appellate court system. What does the Judicature Amendment Bill propose? The proposed amendments to the Judicature Act seek to increase the number of High Court judges from 110 to 120. The bill also includes provisions to extend the retirement age of judges in the lower courts by 2 years. Accordingly, the retirement age of High Court judges will be increased to 63 years, while the retirement age of District Court and Magistrates Court judges will be increased to 62 years.
In the wake of recent unrest reported at several correctional facilities, the government has decided to establish separate committees for all 33 prisons across Sri Lanka to strengthen inmate welfare and improve prison security.
The decision was reached during a discussion chaired by President Anurakumara Dissanayaka. According to officials, the newly proposed committees will be tasked with identifying measures needed to respond effectively to any situation that may arise within prison facilities. The meeting was attended by the Ministers of Justice and Public Security, the Defence Secretary, the Secretary to the Ministry of Public Security, the Inspector General of Police, and a group of officials from the Criminal Investigations Department.
3 inmates have died and more than 75 others have been injured following a series of disturbances that erupted within a span of hours at the Colombo Magazine prison, Kuruvita prison and the Pallansena prison camp in Negombo.
Public Security and Justice Ministry officials have indicated that suspicions have now emerged as to whether the incidents were part of an organized operation, although investigations are continuing.
The first major incident was reported on Thursday night at the Colombo Magazine prison. Security around the facility was strengthened at around 10 p.m. after tensions reportedly developed between groups of inmates housed in 2 separate wards. According to prison authorities, the unrest appears to have been triggered by an alleged narcotics parcel thrown into the prison premises, with inmates attempting to gain possession of it. The Department of Prison stated that approximately 50 inmates behaved in disorderly manner near one of the prison gates. During the disturbance, damage was caused to property within one of the prison buildings. The Acting Commissioner General of Prisons, Hemanta Prasad, said inmates had damaged several computers and other equipment. 11 injured inmates were admitted to the prison hospital for treatment. Police, the Police Riot Control Unit, the Special Task Force and the Tri-Forces were deployed to bring the situation under control. The Department of Prisons later confirmed that 9 inmates had been transferred to Boosa prison following the unrest. By Friday morning, authorities said the situation at Magazine prison had been brought under control, although police and STF personnel remained deployed outside the facility. While authorities were working to stabilize the situation at Magazine prison, another disturbance erupted at Kuruvita prison. According to local reports, the unrest began at around 4 a.m. The incident turned deadly, with 2 inmates losing their lives. A further 6 inmates sustained injuries and were admitted to hospital. The director of Ratnapura Hospital stated that 3 of the injured had undergone surgery. Police and Special Task Force personnel have since been deployed around Kuruvita prison to strengthen security.
අපිට ඇතුලේ ඉන්නවා කියලා කොත් කණිවිඩේ හරි අපිට දෙන්න ඕනි නේද මගේ දරුවා ඉන්නවා කියලා මට එහෙම දෙන්නේ නැහැ මෙයාලා අපිට ඕනේ වාර්තාව කරලා අපේ දරුවෝ නිදාස් කරන්න මිනී මරන්න නැතුව ගෙවල් වල දරුපලව ඉන්න ඕන තරම් කපවරච්චක වාර්තාවේ එන්නේ නැහැ ඒකෙන් තමයි මේක ඇතුලේ මෙච්චර ළමයි අවුරුදු ගණන් වාර්තාව ඇවිල්ලා නැහැ දැන් අපිට දැන් මෙතන ඉන්න කට්ටියට ඕනි මේ ඇතුලේ තුවාල විච්චි කවුද නැතිලා ඉන්නවා කියනවා අපිට ඒක උන අපේ දරුවෝ ඉන්නවද තුවාල නැද්ද කියලා දැනගන්න විතරයි අපිට ඕනි
කොහමද ඇම්බුලන්ස් එක ගෙනියනකොට අපේ ළමයා මැරලාද කියලා තමයි අපි හිතන්නේ. ඒකට අපේ ළමයා මේ කට්ටියගේ මේ ළමයි මොකවත් වෙලා නැහැ කියලා අපේ නම් ටික ගෙනිල්ලා පුතාගේ විස්තර අහලා ගෙනත් දෙන්න කියන අපිට එච්චරයි අදට.
A third incident then unfolded at the Pallansena Open Air Correctional Centre in Daluputha in Negombo. At around 8 a.m., a group of inmates launched a protest from the roof of one of the facility's buildings. The demonstration reportedly began after inmates were allowed out for breakfast and demanded that investigations into their cases be expedited. A section of the protesters later moved towards the main entrance after climbing onto the roof and perimeter wall. Authorities responded with tear gas in an attempt to restore order after inmates allegedly attempted to damage sections of the correctional centre's perimeter wall. Our correspondent reported that once security personnel entered the facility at around 1 p.m., the inmates eventually returned to their accommodation areas. Approximately 50 inmates are reported to have sustained injuries during the incident. Meanwhile, security was strengthened around a number of prisons across the island today as authorities sought to prevent further unrest.
5th and 6th July, Negombo Prison. 1st August, Mahara Prison. 6th August, New Magazine Prison. 7th August, Kuruvita Prison. Negombo Pallansena Open Prison Camp. What is going on?
The Committee for Protecting Rights of Prisoners has expressed its suspicions that clashes inside prisons are staged for political power.
What do they keep saying at every instant? These incidents are taking place. Agitation of inmates. These incidents occur when the inmates are agitated. They are deliberately inciting the prisoners. By doing so, they create a disturbance. I don't know what the reason for this is. If they're playing politics for political power, if they're trying to achieve political power by sacrificing these lives, whichever political party it may be, we strongly condemn it, because a suspicion has now arisen as to whether that is what is behind all of this.
The minister in charge of the prison system says recent prison disturbances appear to be connected to growing resistance against the government's ongoing operations against drug trafficking and organized crime.
මේ පැටර්න් එකෙන් පේනවා අපි මද්ද්‍රව්‍ය මඩින්න දෙන සටන
The pattern suggests that what we are seeing is a form of resistance to the campaign we are carrying out against drugs and organized crime. However, whenever such incidents arise, we have deployed the Special Task Force and the Army whenever necessary, and we have managed to contain the situation. For example, we have prevented the kind of large-scale loss of life that occurred in incidents such as Nigambo. We are now operating through a very structured response mechanism following these events. In my view, this appears to be a reaction to the operations being conducted both inside and outside prisons against drug trafficking and underworld networks.
In පිටතත් කරන මෙහෙයුම් නිසා.
ප්‍රශ්නයක් මතුවෙනවා සමස්ත බන්ධනාගාර පද්ධතියම අක්‍රියයි දැන් කියලා.
මම කිසිසේත්ම අක්‍රිය වෙලා නැහැ.
No, it is certainly not dysfunctional. However, the prison system has many problems. These issues did not begin when our government came to power. They did not originate under a single previous government or a single minister. The most serious issue is overcrowding. When we came into office, there were already 29,000 inmates despite the system having a capacity of only 10,000 to 11,000. Since then, because we have intensified action against drug trafficking, the prison population has increased to around 40,000. Facilities are limited and overcrowding is severe, but overcrowding is not something that emerged yesterday. If overcrowding alone caused such incidents, these disturbances would have been taking place continuously for the last 10 years. That is why I say overcrowding is one factor, but it is not the primary cause. The main issue relates to the difficulties people are experiencing.
ප්‍රධාන හේතුව මිනිසුන්ගේ තියෙන අපහසුතාව.
ඇත්තටම මේ එතුමා මිනිස් වාසයකට නුසුදුසු තරම් බන්ධනාගාරය තුල ප්‍රශ්න තියෙනවා වාසස්ථානීය.
ඇත්තයිනේ. මොකද හේතුව බලන්නකෝ 10,000ක් ඉන්න ඕන තැනක.
That is true. If you have 35,000 to 40,000 people in facilities designed for 10,000, even basic amenities such as sanitation become inadequate. We identified this crisis last year. That is why we are currently expanding space at around 9 selected prisons. Reducing overcrowding is not simply about constructing new prisons, although some expansion will be necessary. We must also reduce the number of people inside the system. Out of the 40,000 inmates, only around 10,000 are convicted prisoners. The remaining 30,000 are remand prisoners, and around 23,000 of them are there due to drug-related offences. One major issue is delays in government analyst reports. We identified this problem last year because the Department of Government Analyst had 118 vacancies. We began addressing those vacancies and nearly 70 officers were recruited on the 1st June. We have also ordered 4 narcotics analysis machines, 2 of which are expected to arrive this month. In other words, we saw this problem early and began taking action. Had previous administrations properly recruited personnel and strengthened these institutions, we would not be facing this situation today. There was also a legal amendment introduced in 2022 requiring the pure weight of drugs exceeding 10 grams to be determined, creating significant delays. As a result, individuals from Jaffna, Kandy and Gaul all had to come through lengthy legal processes, increasing costs and delays. In many cases, suspects remained in remand for nearly a year without even being able to file a bail application. We have now amended that process. We began that reform last year and it has now been completed. Certain drug-related bail powers will once again be vested in the High Court. Unless we reduce overcrowding, it will be difficult to prevent violations of inmates' rights and provide them with the facilities they require. These are the measures we are taking to reduce the prison population. The third issue is that while the law can help us suppress the supply of drugs, reducing demand requires a broader social intervention. That is why I say that while prisons may be experiencing difficulties, many of the root causes originate elsewhere in the system.
ප්‍රශ්න නිර්මාණය වෙලා තියෙන්නේ පද්ධතියේ වෙනත් තැන්වල.
තාම මේ වැඩ බලන බන්ධනාගාර කොමසාරිස්තුමෙක් ඉන්න එක ප්‍රශ්නයක් නෙවෙයිද? ඒක ඇත්තටම කරගන්න බැරි කමක් නෙවෙයිද එමෙතුමා?
නෑ, දැන් ඉන්න බන්ධනාගාර කොමසාරිස්ට සියලුම නීතිමය බලය තිබෙනවා.
No. The current acting Commissioner General possesses all the legal powers necessary to perform the role and is a capable officer. The issue is not administrative competence, it is the lack of resources available to the system. No recruitment had taken place since 2022. There were 1,348 vacancies in the prison service. Under our government, more than 400 individuals have already been recruited and another 600 are currently in the recruitment process. These processes take 7 to 8 months because of the required government procedures. Altogether, we are recruiting close to 1,000 personnel. The reason an acting Commissioner General remains in place is a legal one. A disciplinary process is ongoing against the previous office holder. Until that investigation is concluded, the position cannot legally be considered vacant. Therefore, an acting Commissioner General must remain in office. However, being in acting capacity does not reduce his authority in any way. He has all the powers required to manage the prison system effectively.
කිසි අඩුවක් නැහැ. ඉන්දියාට මේක මනා ලෙස පරිපාලනය කරන්න පුළුවන්.
ආණ්ඩුවේ ප්‍රශ්නයක්වත් බන්ධනාගාර පරිපාලනයේ ප්‍රශ්නයක්
නෑ නෑ ඒක නීතිය E-code.
ඔබතුමාට හිතෙන්නේ නැද්ද ඇත්තටම දේශපාලනය හා බැඳුණු කුමන්ත්‍රණකාරී වැඩපිළිවෙලක් සිදු වෙනකොට ඇයි ඕක හංගල ගහන්නේ කෙලින් කියන්න බැරියයි?
අධිකරණ ඇමතිට කතා කරන්න පුළුවන් සීමාවක් තියෙනවා.
A justice minister has limits on what can be publicly stated. However, even within those limits, I can see what ordinary people can see. I generally speak only about information that has been verified. Since you asked, I will comment on observations I have seen on social media and share my personal opinion. When an incident occurs, it is interesting how certain groups appear almost immediately around it. During the Mahara incident, for example, information and content appeared from individuals linked to various political groups within minutes. We do not know exactly how that happens. And when an incident occurs and no immediate cause can be identified, it is natural for people to suspect that there may be some form of coordination or external influence involved. That possibility has also crossed my mind.
සාමාන්‍ය මනසට ගෝචර වෙනවා. ඉතින් ඒ දේම මටත් ගෝචර වෙලා තියෙනවා.
Minister of Public Security Anand Vijaypala told Parliament today that recent disturbances reported at several prisons appear to have occurred according to a pattern.
මේ සියලු බන්ධනාගාර ඒකාබද්ධ කරලා ගත්තාම මේ සිද්ධීන්
When all these prison incidents are considered together, there appears to be a pattern suggesting that they may be unfolding according to a certain plan. There are indications of a disruptive and conspiratorial element. However, a definitive statement can only be made following a full investigation. Nevertheless, Deputy Speaker, the government's priority is to suppress all disturbances and acts of unrest while ensuring the safety of every individual involved. We remain fully committed to that objective.
ඒ වෙනුවෙන් කැපවී සිටිනවා.
මේක බරපතල තත්ත්වයක්. කවුරු මොනවා කිව්වොත් මේක ජාතික ආරක්ෂාවට ප්‍රශ්නයක්.
This is a serious situation. Regardless of what anyone says, this is also a national security issue. No matter how it is explained, it remains a matter of national security. I would like to remind you that we brought a no-confidence motion centered on the prison issue. 152 members voted in support of the minister, while 36 voted against him. There was applause, celebration and cheering. However, after that victory, incidents occurred at Mahara prison. A disturbance occurred at the Magazine prison last night. Kuruvita prison experienced unrest this morning. And as you yourself stated, there is now an issue at the Pallansena prison as well.
ප්‍රශ්නයක් ඇති වෙලා තිබෙනවා.
Okay. විශේෂයෙන් මේක අමාත්‍යවරයා අධිකරණ අමාත්‍ය
This is not an issue concerning the Minister of Justice personally. The unrest that has spread from Negombo prison to Pallansena prison has raised suspicions that it may be part of a planned and disruptive operation. As I stated earlier, a comprehensive investigation is required. We are treating these incidents as a serious matter. However, this is certainly not a threat to national security, Deputy Speaker. We are taking every step necessary to ensure public safety across the country. We are equally committed to ensuring the safety of inmates and the officers serving within the prison system while bringing these incidents under control. Several short-term and long-term measures have already been proposed. The Cabinet has appointed a committee under the chairmanship of the Minister of Justice to address these issues. President Anura Kumara Dissanayake has also convened a special meeting with the relevant stakeholders. Accordingly, urgent measures are now being taken to address the situation without delay.
ඒ හින්දා වහවා කඩිනම් පියවර ගැනීමට අවශ්‍ය කටයුතු කරනවා.
Stating that conflicts within prisons pose a threat to national security, the opposition leader declared moments later that immediate action must be taken to bring imprisoned MP Chaminda Wijesiri to Parliament.
මේ අවස්ථා ගණනාවකදී එතුමාගේ වරප්‍රසාද කඩ වෙලා තිබෙනවා.
His privileges have been violated on numerous occasions in these instances. Under Section 3 of the Parliament Powers and Privileges Act, an elected member of Parliament is statutorily guaranteed that the right to speech, debate and participation in proceedings. Therefore, the violation of this single member's right is not merely a violation of his personal right. Through this, the collective representation right of the entire Parliament, especially of the opposition MPs, as well as my own parliamentary powers and privileges as the leader of the
opposition representing opposition under Section 3 of the Parliament Powers and Privileges Act have also been violated. Furthermore, although our group's member was brought from the Badula prison on the 6th of August 2026, meaning he was brought yesterday, bringing him to Parliament has been halted since yesterday. Who did this? We would like to know. He was brought from Badula to Colombo for nothing else than to attend Parliament. Under whose instructions? On whose orders? Who obstructed MP Chaminda Weeracheri's journey to this Parliament? His opportunity to speak, his opportunity to question, and his opportunity to participate in committees. Give us an answer.
එතුමාගේ කතා කිරීමේ අවස්ථාව, ප්‍රශ්න කිරීමේ අවස්ථාව, කමිටු වලට සහභාගී වීමේ අවස්ථාව කවුද කඩ කරේ?
Okay, Honorable Minister, this shall be forwarded to the Committee on Ethics and Privileges. It will be referred to them. I am not giving any.
However, Chaminda Vijayasiri was brought to Parliament by prison officers today. The United National Party has sent a letter to the Acting Commissioner General of Prisons stating that the life of the party's assistant leader, Akila Viraj Karyavasam, who is being held at the Magazine prison, has been placed in an unsafe situation. In its communication to prison authorities, the party stressed that the safety and well-being of the former minister must be ensured while he remains in custody. Furthermore, the letter signed by the General Secretary of UNP, Thaladatu Korala, requests the Commissioner General of Prisons to provide an opportunity for her and chairman of the party, Vajirabe Vardhana, to meet and discuss this matter. The joint opposition today responded to a statement issued by the United National Party and the unrest reported at several prisons.
The United National Party has issued a statement requesting that the safety of Akila Viraj Karyavasam, who is currently in remand custody, be ensured. Now, this group is gradually being sent to prisons. They can make such requests to the judicial authorities. They are attempting to create the impression that the prisons are unsafe and unstable, and that they should not be sent to prison. This is the narrative they are trying to build. Now the fence has been crossed. This is the conspiracy we are witnessing. We saw the General Secretary of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, who is also an attorney at law, publicly making statements about harming the current Inspector General of Police. These challenges are being made because they no longer have power. They still believe they are in control of the country. During their rule, they behaved in the same manner, threatening police officers, deputy inspector generals and OICs, even interfering with police stations. That mentality still remains. Today, we saw parliamentarian Chaminda Vijayasiri receive 1.5-year prison sentence for threatening a police officer. Yet, the opposition leader is shouting in parliament to defend him. This raises the question of whether the rule of law would be protected if he were to become president. Using parliamentary privileges to defend wrongdoers is something that should be condemned. This is why the joint opposition was formed. Looking at the direction they are heading, it appears they may eventually have to form their opposition from within prison.
ඒගොල්ලන්ට ඒකාබද්ධ වෙන්නේ විපක්ෂ හදන්න වෙන්නේ බන්ධනාගාරී. මේ සියලුම දේවල් අපිට තියෙන ප්‍රශ්නේ තමයි එකම අවස්ථාවක කොහොමද වෙන්නේ?
Our concern is how these incidents occurred simultaneously. How did such a communication system develop across several prisons at the same time? This makes us believe that there is a group attempting to disrupt the functioning of these prison facilities. We clearly state that this is a conspiracy. Therefore, we must investigate how this conspiracy has emerged. Recently, we have seen many individuals preparing to face imprisonment, and some have already been imprisoned under anti-corruption legislation. More are expected to follow. Who are these individuals? They are the corrupt groups that have been politically rejected by the people. Therefore, we believe there is a conspiracy to create conflicts within prisons as these groups enter prison facilities. As the joint opposition, we clearly call on the people of this country to stand against any actions carried out to serve the interests of such unethical alliances.
ඒකට එරෙහිව නැගී සිටින්න කියලා මේ රටේ ජනතාවට ආරාධනා කරනවා.
A suspect accused of recording video footage near the official residences of the Chief Justice and the Inspector General of Police has been arrested by officers attached to the Cinnamon Gardens Police. The suspect was arrested at around 10 p.m. on Thursday. And according to the police, the suspect is a 40-year-old rental driver residing in Panadura. The suspect was later produced before the Halsdorf Magistrates Court and was released on a surety of 100,000 rupees. And with that, we move on to more local news. Director of the Criminal Investigation Department, Senior Superintendent of Police Shani Abesekara has been promoted to the rank of Deputy Inspector General of Police. The promotion comes into effect from the 25th of August 2020 and was made under the recommendations of the National Police Commission.
The mighty Mini Club Members Day Grand Prix will be held on 9th August at the Katukurundal Racetrack. Club members will bring their minis of all vintages, starting from earliest classic models to the latest Coopers, to have an exciting day at the racetrack. Media sponsor MBC MTV.
In international news, a Thai teenager killed several people at a secondary school on the outskirts of Bangkok.
Tinal Tilakaratna is ready to tell us more on this.
Thank you, Martin and Therani. Now, at least 8 people have died in Thailand after a 14-year-old boy fatally shot his grandparents before opening fire at a school on the outskirts of Bangkok. The dead include the teenager who took his own life after firing at least 26 rounds. Thai Prime Minister said 9 people who were wounded are in critical condition, adding that he would discuss gun control with the country's police chief. Let's take a look.
In the wake of today's events, Debsirin North Aburi School has announced a special closure from the 10th of August to the 14th of August. The teen behind the shooting at the Debsirin North Aburi School had been quote-unquote under stress, said Prime Minister Anutin Charnavirkul, adding that the attack had been planned. A student who said he was nearly shot recounted that the suspect looked very professional when he was aiming his gun at him. Photos published by local media showed the suspect wearing a purple school uniform and carrying a black crossbody bag with several bullet casings visible on the ground.
What does a paddy field really mean to a family? It is more than a land. It is income, education, food and security.
And that is why Government the Rebuild today launched a new phase of its mission to restore cyclone-damaged farmlands and help families stand on their own feet once again.
The Madagama paddy field in Palapatwila Mathale, once buried under floodwaters and destruction brought by Cyclone Ditwa, became the starting point of a national recovery effort today. From the very land that symbolized the devastation left behind by the disaster, a new chapter of hope and recovery began. The central objective of the Government the Rebuild program is to help affected families regain their livelihoods, strengthen household security, and rebuild their future with dignity following the devastating impact of the cyclone. The initiative is being implemented in partnership with the Department of Agrarian Development. The first phase commenced with the restoration of 22 acres of paddy land in Madagama Vilayaya, enabling 89 farming families to return to cultivation and rebuild their income. Among those attending the launch were Mathale District Secretary Prasanna Madanayaka, Government the Leader and Group Director of the Capital Maharaja Group, Shevan Daniel, Deputy Commissioner of Agrarian Development for Mathale, Rohan Dasnayaka, and several government officials.
We have not come here today to provide food, clean drinking water or temporary relief. We have come to give these resilient people an opportunity to stand on their own feet once again, and I believe that is even more important. We know that a paddy field is not just a piece of land. A paddy field represents a family's income. It represents a child's education. It is the strength of a village, the economy of a community, and the food security of an entire nation. So when we restore a paddy field, we are restoring hope to a country. That is why we believe this program, which begins in this village today, will make a meaningful contribution to strengthening the country's food security. I would also like to say with great pride that Gammadda is not a project that appears only in moments of crisis. Whenever the people of this country face destruction or hardship, Gammadda stands beside them until they are able to rise again on their own.
Even before 24 hours had passed after the disaster struck, the first relief team to arrive to support the people of our district was the Gammadda relief team. Since then, they have assisted our communities on numerous occasions. This included providing dry rations to 254 families whose homes were completely destroyed. More recently, they distributed toolkits worth approximately 50,000 rupees each to masons, plumbers, electricians and others who were unable to continue their livelihoods due to the disaster. Today, they have taken another important step by helping restore the lives of farming families affected by the disaster through the rehabilitation of damaged paddy fields, irrigation canals and agricultural infrastructure. As this broader program begins, what we hope will become nearly 40 similar initiatives, we are deeply grateful that Matale was chosen as the location for the very first project. On behalf of our farming community, I extend my sincere appreciation to the Gammadda team and everyone involved in making this possible.
Following the inauguration, rehabilitation work also began on the irrigational canal system supplying water to the Urulavatta paddy fields. Work on restoring the canal network that supports cultivation in Murutuluwa paddy fields also commenced later in the day. Through this program, damaged minor irrigation systems and agricultural lands across the districts of Kandy, Matale, Nuwara and Badulla are expected to be restored and returned to productive agricultural use. At its heart, the initiative is about more than repairing farmland. It is about helping farming families rebuild their lives, restoring food production, and giving communities the confidence to move forward again. By bringing damaged agricultural lands back into cultivation, the program aims to help strengthen national food security while creating new opportunities for families who lost much of what they had during the disaster.
Construction has officially begun on the second 220 kilowatt underground transmission cable system extending from the Kerawalapiti grid substation to the Colombo Port grid substation. This project is funded by the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, providing a loan assistance of $52 million.
The project includes the construction of a new 16-kilometer underground cable system scheduled to be built between Kerawalapiti and the Colombo port. It also includes upgrades to the existing substation and the installation of control systems. This will enable it to act as an alternative route without disrupting the power supply during maintenance or an unexpected breakdown of the system. The new project will provide the necessary facilities to integrate electricity generated from Kerawalapiti power plants to the national grid, as well as to integrate renewable energy generated in the northern and eastern provinces to the national grid. Upgrade to the substation and the installation of control systems will also be carried out under this project, with the main objective being to ensure a continuous and quality power supply to rapidly developing areas, including the Colombo port city.
The requirement is to provide a good, reliable power supply to Colombo, including the port city. So we think it is an essential project for our time, because at a time when we are working to attract a large number of tourists and investors to the port city, an uninterrupted power supply is essential. Providing loans to our country had been halted for a period. After the country was declared bankrupt along with the financial instability in the country, all the countries that provided loans refrained from doing so. However, that financial situation has now improved, and as investments and loans are required by the country, this institution has looked at us favorably once again. This is a large investment when seen in terms of dollars, so the question of funding does not arise. Therefore, there is clarity in all aspects and the cash will continue to flow.
The India-Sri Lanka Textile Trade Forum 2026, organised by the Indian High Commission, took place in Colombo.
High-level diplomatic and government figures converged in Colombo for the India-Sri Lanka Textile Trade Forum. The high-profile gathering underscored a renewed push to deepen bilateral economic ties, modernize trade agreements and build integrated regional supply chains. Speaking at the event, High Commissioner of India to Sri Lanka, Santosh Jha, emphasized on trade relations between the two countries.
Last year, Sri Lanka found India as its second largest export destination, and the growth this year in Sri Lankan exports to India, even if the Indian growth of exports to Sri Lanka has been quite remarkable, the Sri Lankan growth has been absolutely unbelievable. And clearly, my ideal situation is that we should be number one on both the lists. We should be the largest destination for Sri Lankan exports, and we, of course, as a neighboring country of Sri Lanka and a very large economy, should be the largest exporter to this country. So there will be more economic partnerships that are meaningful, and there is one in this space of textiles and garments that is really quite prospective in my view. We now need to begin to think in terms of supply chains and value chains.
Deputy Minister of Industry and Entrepreneurship Development, Chaturanga Besinghe, shared his views on Sri Lanka's handloom industry.
And as much as India does, we also do have a traditional industry, handloom industry. And that is, at this moment, probably a dying industry. But we are doing our best to keep it up, bring it to the global stage, make value out of craft.
Since its launch in 2015, Intex has evolved into the region's most influential and largest international textile sourcing show in South Asia, with a strong presence across Sri Lanka, Bangladesh and India.
The International Legal Symposium organized by the Bar Association of Sri Lanka commenced in Colombo today.
The Bar Association of Sri Lanka today hosted the International Legal Symposium 2026, bringing together leading legal professionals from Sri Lanka and overseas.
The law will change, technology will change, the way we practice will certainly change, but some things must not change. That is our duty to the court, our duty to our clients, our commitment to professional integrity, our defense of an independent judiciary, and our responsibility to uphold the rule of law. Those are the constants of our profession.
Kirsty Brimello, KC, Chair of the Bar Council of England and Wales, stressed the importance of international legal cooperation and upholding the rule of law.
There perhaps has never been a more important time for lawyers to engage internationally. Only then can we build remedies. As advocates, we understand that justice depends not only upon good laws, but upon skilled, independent lawyers who are willing to stand up for their clients, even when doing so is unpopular or difficult. And the independence of the legal profession is not only a privilege for lawyers, it's a protection for every citizen. When lawyers are free to represent citizens without fear or favour, everyone benefits. When courts are independent, societies are stronger. When the rule of law flourishes, investment grows, businesses prosper, and public confidence increases. These are values that are global values that are worth defending every single day.
The symposium is expected to provide an important platform for international legal dialogue, professional exchange, and discussions on contemporary legal issues.
It's time to take a look at your sports news for tonight.
Omitra Bekon brings us the details.
Yes, Martin and Therina. Patum Nisanka and Chamariyatapattu were crowned Sri Lanka's outstanding male and female cricketers of 2025 at the Sri Lanka Cricket Awards ceremony held in Colombo last night. The prestigious awards recognized the two star performers for their exceptional contributions to Sri Lankan cricket throughout the year, during which both players played pivotal roles for their respective national teams.
Sri Lanka's leading cricket stars were honoured for their outstanding performances during the 2025 season at the Sri Lanka Cricket Awards night held in Colombo. Minister of Youth Affairs and Sports Sunil Kumar Gamage attended the event as the chief guest. The ceremony was also attended by Sri Lanka Cricket Transformation Committee Chairman Iran Wickramaratne, officials, players, coaches and a host of invited guests. Cricketers who delivered exceptional performances during the 2025 season were recognised and rewarded at the event. Vishen Halambage was named Best Batsman and Most Valuable Player of the Interclub 2020 tournament following an impressive season. Sri Lanka women's captain Chamariyatapattu emerged as one of the biggest winners of the night, securing 4 awards across the women's T20 and one-day international categories. Meanwhile, star all-rounder Wanidu Hasaranga was named Best One-Day International All-Rounder.
From that, we bring to a close this edition of Prime Time News on TV1.
Thank you for joining us.
Good night.